Health 101. Mental Health 101 is created to empower our mental health. And today, I have my special guest. He is the author of several books. One of them is Falling Down, Getting Up, no other than Mr. Michael Harris.
Thanks, Daniel. It's great to be back again. I love your show, and I really appreciate talking about this subject as well.
Yes, welcome to Mental Health and Mr. Michael Harris. What is the mental health and why is it important?
Well, I don't know whether we have enough time to get into all of it, but I will say one time or the other, um, all of us have experienced some type of mental health issues, whether we recognize it or not. Just like normal sadness or depression, all the way to bipolar and schizophrenia. Now,
Yes.
I'm not a therapist and I'm not an expert, but in that sense, but I'm an expert in the sense of having dealt with my own mental health issues, especially around sobriety and getting sober. Oftentimes somebody that is in an addictive state or excessive drinking, alcoholism, hand in hand with um, those type of abuses comes, depression and anxiety, and perhaps some other mental health issues. And I have a brother, one of my brothers, and he runs multiple treatment centers, and we've talked a lot about this as well. And you know, they find that about 70 to 80% of the people that come in for treatment identify depression and anxiety as two issues that they have, and that those that begin to recover and even are able to maintain longer term sobriety, is some of that naturally just goes away through treatment and recovery. So the depression and anxiety minimize. Now, that may not be true. It's not true for everybody, because sometimes there's more in-depth issues, like I mentioned bipolar or schizophrenia or some other issues as well. One of the things that I found, I've been sober, we've talked about this before, for 36 years, for a long time. And I was one of those people that definitely identified with depression and anxiety initially. But at the same time, even over this period of time of sobriety, I have my own ups and downs. I can be depressed, I can be anxious, I can be upset, I can feel angry, I can have all those normal human experiences. It's a matter of, you know, is it clinical or is it a passing mental health issue? And for me, what I have found that, as long as I keep moving my body, getting the chemistry in my body moving, calming down the adrenal glands and those type of things through movement, whether it's walking or yoga or lifting weights or skiing, just, keeping that energy going, my mental health tends to be better. I tend to be happier, more joyous, more friendly, less reactive, calm in my reactions or my responses. So there's lots of things that I have found for myself and through working with other people, short of medication, that can help our mental health state. I could keep going, Daniel, but I'm pausing for a moment.
So, Mr. Michael, falling down and getting up, which chapter of the book did you tackle about mental health?
All of them, they were touched on in each chapter at different points. The first chapter of the book is really describing when I was 12 years old and I had my water skiing accident. And um, it was difficult for me. It was really difficult for me. Some of this is in there, some of this isn't, but this was the summer before seventh grade, and I go into seventh grade not in September, but in January because I'm still healing. I have a tube in the side of my body, and I went from, Mr. Junior Athletic to not really being able to do anything at the time.
Mm.
And other kids were pointing at me, and I was this sick looking kid in the corner of the room, and people were making fun of me. And instead of, like, even during PE or recess, being the captain picking the other people for the teams, I was the last one picked, if picked at all. So I became disconnected from my friends. I became depressed, especially. I felt picked on. I felt bullied at times. And that, really did a number on me for a while. It's pretty traumatic for a child, the 12-year-old or 8-year-old, however old, to um, have some type of condition that others are making fun of you of. And I think for me, part of that contributed to my drinking and my alcoholism because I was trying to use these substances to calm my mind, to relax myself, to get out of the depression, to feel bigger than I was. And it would do that, but it was like a false sense of being more powerful than I really was. But I would open up, if I was with friends somewhere or there was a high school party or something and there was beer there, it opened me up by having a couple of beers that I was just, relaxed. So I was trying to treat my emotional trauma and my mental health condition through those substances. And not till I got sober did I learn how to deal with, those emotions and that trauma that I had, and to let it go and to recognize that, it's really here, and it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks of me. It only matters what I think of me, you know?
Certainly,
Yes.
yes. So, for your experience, Mr. Michael, how do you recognize that in your early stage, do you have a mental health issues?
Well, that's a great question. And again, I'm not a professional at this. But I can recognize, and I think probably we all can, and the listeners as well. Like, if we go meet a friend or we talk to a friend, somehow we can recognize if they're upset about something. Like, if you're upset, Daniel, and we went and met for coffee and showed up, and you're kind of sitting there, and I go, Daniel, what's going on? Oh, I'm okay. Oh, Daniel, what's going on? Tell me about it. So there's something going on now, whether or not that's, let's call it depression, but whether or not that's a clinical depression that needs to be treated by a professional, I can't tell that. And, you know, I cannot prescribe something to somebody. I know that the same thing on my side when I'm feeling a little bit off and I show up with some friends or something, and I have a great group of friends, they will ask too, are you okay? And so I think that being around a group of people really helps if we have a group of friends that can, help support each other and that we can turn to talk. And one of the things that I found too, that as everyday issues come up, life issues come up, if I'm talking about it with two other people or friends, that I'm more likely to move through that type of depression and anxiety that I may have. Um, I'll use the word gracefully here, Daniel.
Yes.
Move through more gracefully. And there are times where I have got extra support, and I've gone to a therapist, a counselor. Personally, I was never identified or diagnosed with any clinical type issues, but as I work through those issues with that extra support, I was able to see things and release it and feel better about myself. You see, we're either moving from pain, right?
Yes.
Or we're moving to happiness. I mean, it's just like this push pull thing that's always going on. And, um, I have family members too, multiple family members that have long-term mental health issues, decades-long issues that need extra support, and in some cases, medication, and that's okay. We used to look upon those things as, oh, something's wrong with him. Well, today, mental health issues are coming more to the forefront and recognized much more. So, I mean, I really appreciate, you hear people, whether they're politicians, whether they're sports figures, whether, they're entertainment, that people are willing to talk more about their mental health issues. And I think that's helped all of us heal in those ways.
Certainly. Very well said. Mr. Michael, very well said. So, for your experience, what are the causes of mental health disorders?
Well, the causes, I think some of them are just like everyday type things, all the way up to, like COVID triggered a lot of mental health issues. We were forced to, um,
Isolate.
stay at home, oftentimes wear masks, uncertain of what the future was going to look like. Was I going to get sick? Was everybody going to get sick? What about money? How am I going to pay for things if I can't work? And all of those, did create extra pressure that's still being released. I don't think it's totally been released yet. Um, I was talking to actually somebody earlier today, and the effect of what happened then was still strong. And even when COVID first happened, early March of what year was it again? 21?
21, yes.
Yeah,
Starting
21.
20, yes. I think
I
it started
I
like the
I
middle.
definitely went into depression and anxiety. I had um, a revenue stream that was coming in from recurring revenue that I had, and it stopped literally overnight.
Because of the
So it's
COVID.
just like, oh, how am I going to pay? All that money's gone. It's not going to come back, and it never came back. So like that anxiety, that financial anxiety was really strong.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, so all those triggers, relationship triggers, inability to deal with conflict in relationship, can really exasperate our emotional mental health, our emotional sobriety, our mental health sobriety. And, again, do we have the toolbox? Do we have the ability to move through it, or are we going to get stuck in it? Getting stuck in it is no fun.
That's the big question.
Yeah,
Let it go, people. Let it go.
let it go.
So, Mr. Michael, let's talk about mental health awareness and stigma. Why is it mental health awareness is important in society?
Well, it's kind of like I mentioned, it's finally coming out a little bit more, and it's been pushed down. And even years ago, oh, they're an alcoholic. Yeah, there's something's wrong with them. Well, nothing's wrong with them. They just have a condition like any other condition that needs help and support. Same with mental health. As mental health awareness evolves, it's becoming more acceptable to go to a therapist, to take perhaps some medication, to take quote unquote mental health days. I mean, we all need mental health days. There are days that I wake up from time to time and it's just like, I can't do today. I've got to go do something else. And what do? I go move my body. I go for a hike. I clear my mind, and then I'm okay the next day. With that willingness to talk about it, and I have friends that are very, very aware and conscious of um, talking about it, letting it out. And, if I hear that so and so is having an issue, it's like, oh, well, good for them to talk about it. It helps all of us. So rather than finding reasons to divide us because, oh, this person has a mental health condition and this doesn't, rather than divide us, it's just like, let's help support that person and bring us together, because we all go through that ebb and flow. One day the waves are up, one day the waves are down. One day the leaves are on the tree, one day the leaves are on the ground. And it's that flow. And the more that we recognize what depression, anxiety, bipolar, all these various identified conditions, the better that we are going to be as individuals, but also as groups, as a community together.
Indeed. So, Mr. Michael, what would be your advice for those people out there suffering from mental health condition?
Well, there's a couple of things that I believe that belong in really most people's toolbox, so to speak, for good mental health. That's first, and I'm glad you asked about the awareness, is first being aware of it. And we may not be aware of it. There may be something that feels off, but willing to talk to other people about it, willing to find some professional support and help as needed, I think is really vital. I think another item in the toolbox is having a good group of friends to talk about. We don't want to tell everybody all of our issues and problems, but even two or three close people is really important. Moving the body, I believe continuing to move the body is really important. I know, times that I have felt down and depressed. I mean, I walk every day anyway, a couple of miles every day. But if there's something going on and I'm feeling out of it and I get up and I go walk by the river by my house, I feel 100% better. So that movement is important, that you know, change in chemistry, because they say part of mental health condition is a change in chemistry. So if we walk, we run, we lift weights, we do yoga, we go skiing, we ride our bike, whatever it might be, is getting the body moving. Another thing that's quite common, and this is a long held, I'm going to touch on long held spiritual beliefs, is that by helping somebody else, we feel better. So perhaps finding something that we can do that will help somebody else, reaching out, even going, helping your friend rake their yard. It could be as simple as that, or it could be knowing that a friend is suffering and just say, hey, let's go for a walk, or whatever. So reaching out and helping other people is important, and just, maintaining that connection with each other.
Definitely. So, what would be your short term and long term goals as a writer of mental health awareness?
Well, I think one of the things, and this is such great timing because I am working on another book, and one of the things that I um, looking at it as part of the book is talking about our emotional and mental health, and my experience and some of what people can do to help move through what they might be struggling with. And for me, I mentioned that I walk every day. I teach and I practice yoga. I don't get on my bike that much, but not only do I walk, but I like to get up into the mountains. So, part of my goal would be to continue to maintain that. So if I'm not moving my body, substantially, at least 5 days a week, that may sound a lot. When I say substantially, I mean Walking 2 miles takes me about 30 to 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, right? So if I even get up and do that every day, I'm doing something I know that's going to help set the foundation for my day. I'm going to feel better. My movement's going to be better. I'm going to be more clear minded. So, um, again, that and more. I don't think we
Yes.
have 3 hours today.
Definitely, indeed. So, what steps can be taken to reduce the stigma surrounding mental health?
Talking about it, talking about it more, being willing. You know,
Yes.
it even goes back to my falling down book. Um, and I've really recognized like the self-esteem issues that I had around it is, writing and divulging some of what I wrote. Um, Rick Frischman, which really helped me get the book published, I said, I don't know if I can talk about all of this. And he says, talk about as much as you possibly can. He says, because that's how other people will connect with you. So if I'm willing to expose my issues, my depression, my struggles, as other people are going to connect with that as well. And they may be willing to expose it for themselves. So the more awareness we have around it, the better, the more that we're willing to talk about it. And I know even the book, just writing the book changed my mental health because, I
Yes.
had these secrets and I didn't want anybody to know it. But as I wrote it and let it go, I was no longer worried about it. And I think that's one of the most powerful things that authors do, especially when they write about these issues, is just writing about it lets it go, just journaling about it. I didn't mention that in the toolbox, but journaling is a huge one, in moving through our mental health and our personal struggles.
Certainly. So, Mr. Michael, before we wrap up our discussion, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season, People Food 101, with my co-host, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We talk about, or we are reading our letter senders all over the world. So please do listen, Food 101. So, Mr. Michael, how can schools and communities promote better mental health education?
What one of the things, and I do some work with kids here at a local grade school, and one of the things that is so much different, Daniel, from when I was in school, if I had a mental health condition as a grade schooler, they'd send me to the principal and, they'd swat me in the butt with a ping pong paddle that had holes in it because they thought, it was a discipline thing. And today you could never do that. That's not the way that they deal with it. And they have counselors, and some of the kids that I know, at the grade school are more than willing to say, hey, I'm struggling today. I need some extra support and help. And part of that is just that awareness that it's okay to ask for help. So I
Yes.
think the schools are getting much better at that with the kids. And I know several school counselors, even my niece and her husband are school counselors and have dealt a lot with those issues. But just making that available and the awareness that it's there for the kids feel less stigmatized. I mean, I know kids that I've been around them, or we're having a play date and, with a bunch of kids, and they're talking about their emotions and their mental health issues. I didn't do that as a kid, Daniel. I don't know if you did, but it wasn't done in the same way that I see it being done today. So I think that there is an opening there. And I think it does start a lot with the schools and helping the kids, whether you're in grade school, middle school, high school, or even college or university, is making the services available for people that want that extra support.
Certainly. So, Mr. Michael Harris, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your books to the world. And we are looking forward for more empowering books like this.
Excuse me.
So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Yes. If you want a free copy of Falling Down, Getting Up, simply go to ebook.michaelbharris.com and they get a free copy of that book.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Michael Harris because if you support him, more empowering books about mental health will come. So, Mr. Michael, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.